Hello and welcome to the first workshop recording for Pi Network's 2023 Q1 Hackathon. We're so excited to see so many participants involved already, and we can't wait to see the incredible and innovative Pi apps that you're developing. In this video, we'll explain some of the basics of Web3 and give a quick introduction to Pi Network for those who are new to the Pi community. Then we'll describe some of the unique features and benefits of developing on Pi Network, as well as the qualities of a successful Pi Hackathon app. This will be followed by product insights and tips from one of our very own product managers. Enjoy.
Let me start with some very basics. So Web3. Web3 is the newest iteration of the internet, really. Everyone may remember that Web 1 was the first version of the web where it was essentially read-only, and you could only download it and see information. And Web 2 was more of a read-write version of the internet. So Web 2 was the iteration that allowed people to produce content. It was services like YouTube or social media, where the internet was not anymore a tool that only some developers or some companies or some people who have the means and ability to create servers and produce information to do that, and everyone else is just reading, but it was everyone could participate. Now Web3 is adding an additional element to this. Using the Web3 and essentially blockchain and cryptocurrencies, people are able to have true digital online citizenship and digital ownership. And what we mean by ownership is that now people can own certain things online that are residing on blockchain, such as cryptocurrencies or non-fungible tokens or other types of ownerships, and they can interact with them. So this can create certain very new functionalities and unblocks a completely different world of applications that now can reside online. And while I was talking, I already mentioned that blockchain is a core technology enabler of this of Web3, which is a shared, decentralized, immutable record. It's a chain of blocks that essentially keeps track of this stuff. And the stuff, as I mentioned, it could be cryptocurrency or other types of digital assets. Now, Pi Network is one of the world's largest blockchain-enabled communities with over 35 million engaged members. And it is a platform as well, and the Pi platform enables a user-friendly, intuitive, and robust and accessible ecosystem for all sorts of these kinds of activities to happen between users, developers, and merchants. Now, the user base pioneers is already crypto enabled, meaning that they have what's called wallets, which is essentially a private key and a public key. But they don't just have wallets, so the ability to interact with the cryptographic algorithms, but they also have wallets with cryptocurrency inside Pi, and they have been mining it for the last over 4 years. So they are essentially a group of people who are ready to interact with Web3. So essentially what you can do as developers of this hackathon is to build meaningful utilities that can deliver this kind of impact on Web3. So building on Pi is, first of all, simple, because you don't need to know new technologies and different things or write very complicated blockchain-based protocols, smart contracts, and algorithms, while at the same time, you can create Web3 applications. And we spend a tremendous amount of time to try to make the platform accessible to everyday developers and try to help them deliver reliable, secure, and safe applications by using simple tools like, essentially, if you know how to build a web application, and if you know how to integrate into your web application in JavaScript library and able to do API calls, well, that's pretty much a Pi app. So with this platform, we enable you to focus on building your apps and delivering value to your users. And the first point here on the slide is there is all these engaged users already, all the pioneers who are part of the Pi network globally, who are ready and eager to use these functionalities and utilities that you may end up building. Now, one other thing that we recently created is a specific open source license for Pi. So we call it Pi OS, Pi open source, and it specifically grants unrestricted use of the code, similar to how MIT license works, but it does that within the Pi ecosystem. So this allows Pi community developers to essentially create source code and applications that are custom for the Pi ecosystem. And that can be all the way from full-fledged apps to libraries and foster all sorts of collaboration between Pi community developers. Now, speaking of judges and apps, let's look at what are some features of apps that we will potentially assess as the more successful apps. So the features that we're looking for are actually intuitive and straightforward. So we're looking for apps that are simple. So the more simple your app is, and by simple, I don't mean simplistic, the more you will be able to produce that one simple functionality in a meaningful and thoughtful way and well thought through and rounded way. So by simple here, I mean that if your app is designed to build one thing and it does that well, then that's better than if you create an app that has 15 different features. So the Pi network is overall a collection of different utilities. For example, a chat utility already exists for Pi. So your app, maybe you want to build a better chat utility. Okay, that's perfectly fine. You can build a better chat utility. And that would be a single, simple goal for your app. But if you don't choose to build a better chat utility that's better than the one we have, then if in your app you're doing something else and you also add the chat functionality, then you end up not building a simple app. You're going to have an app with two very different features. It's going to be probably building something fun. Let's say it's a video app or it's like some other functionality, plus it has the aspiration to be a chat app. So that is going to reduce your ability to build the one other functionality that you wanted to have thoroughly and successfully and with as good user experience as possible. So that's what I mean by simplicity here. Pick one core functionality, do it really well, get it in front of users, have everyone using it. If you really need other functionalities, see if there is a compatible other existing Pi app and direct your users there. No need to try to build everything within the settings of the one hackathon. Now, second thing is utility. So we are looking for apps that are solving a specific user need. So if someone asks you, what is your app doing? You should be able to respond within one sentence that what it's doing. So, and people could reply back to what you said by saying, okay, that sounds useful. That sounds interesting. Or they may even say, well, I wouldn't be using this, but I get it. Yeah, some people may be interested in this. But still, they're not going to respond What is that? Can you say that one more time? All right. The third thing that we're looking for is deployability, meaning whatever you're building, you should be able to deploy it and independently launch it on Pi by the end of the hackathon. So, for example, if your app were to depend on, say, some external business development partnerships in order for this to make any sense, let's say you were building an app that was dependent on a big electric vehicle company to connect with your app in order for your app to be functional. So before your app can be even used by any user, you need to strike that deal with an electric vehicle company. And until then, it's just a proof of concept. Well, that's exciting. We're always looking for people to create innovation. We understand certain things take time, and if you don't try to get that big partnership with that external company, I mean, how could you ever build big ideas? But this if you choose this type of path, it's going to be a little less advantaged compared to other apps in the hackathon. So someone else who built an app that can be fully deployed and it doesn't depend on third-party apps or on third parties or other types of complexities, they will most likely get more users, probably attract the attention of the judges more, and they're more likely to win the hackathon than an app that is only staying on the proof of concept, on the concept of yeah, it would be great if we could attach this to the world, but of course the world is not there yet. Proof of concept, but not the actual usable app. So we'd like to have apps that pioneers. We have all these members of the network who are eager and ready to use apps, and they should be able to use it. Now, obviously, we are looking for apps that are integrating with Pi. So we are supporters of all the ideas, and we wish them all the best. But the Pi Hackathon is created to focus on apps that are integrating with Pi one way or another. So they have to be relevant apps. And also, the point visible on the slide saying blockchain relevance is that the relevance, it shouldn't be forced. So in the sense, try to think of apps and ideas where the idea that is using Pi or blockchain comes naturally in the app, is not forced. So if your user comes to your app and says, okay, great, this is an awesome app, I want to use it, but why are you asking me for Pi here? That's so irrelevant. Then that's probably not a good use case for a Pi application. And finally, we want the app to be, the apps you build to be as accessible as possible. So we are not against niche apps or apps of a specific need. We are more than happy to have those. And it is perfectly okay if your app is useful to a relatively small population, or like people under specific conditions, or people of a specific country, of a specific town, of a specific occupation. It's perfectly fine. I'm not calling this not accessible. It is a not so big, but smaller percentage of the population. But it wouldn't be a successful hackathon app if you build something very custom specific to you and your two friends, and it doesn't extrapolate to other people on the network. Because the intent after the hackathon is to help you get your apps to be accessed and used by as many people as possible. And if an app, if in order for someone to use an app has to have this, has to live in your apartment and has the same last name as you and a bunch of other conditions that apply only to 3 people in the world, then that's not a percentage of the population. Of course, even apps that can be applicable to everyone, that's even better, but having a smaller than everyone user base, potential user base, is also fine. Just not just apps that are much more restrictive may not be as successful in the hackathon as possible. All right, thanks everyone, and I wish you everyone good luck in the hackathon. Feel free to reach our team with questions and give us feedback on how we can help you more succeed in your goals as hackathon participants.
All right, so again, that was Nicolas Kokkalis, and we will move on to the next slide, which is a video more specific to product from one of our lead product managers, Kevin Beyer.
Hello, my name is Kevin, and I am a product manager here at Pi Network. I will be speaking to you on Pi Network from a product perspective. I think the intended purpose is just to share some of the things that I've learned here as a product manager, some insights that could help you be successful with engaging to our community and connecting your apps and projects into the Pi ecosystem. So the first thing I would definitely say is when you're creating your project and developing it is the first step, right? Finding the project itself. You know, it could be as simple as, can you do the elevator pitch, right? Focusing on the aspect of getting the most important information in a fast and concise way so people know what you're trying to do, and it's clear you've thought about what the most important aspect is. And usually that is what problem you are solving, right? You know, instead of trying to create a project that solves 20 things at once, it's very difficult to develop and get going, get rolling. So really trying to bear down, create that MVP, and determine, hey, what is the one thing that we are trying to include in our project that creates its value, right? You know, if you look at some of very successful companies throughout, you can usually tailor it back to a single idea that started it. Amazon wasn't Amazon, you know, delivering in one day of. I just ordered some dog toys and they came in like 4 hours. That was definitely not their original value that they were providing, right? They were an online commerce store that sold books. So, you know, connect to the customer, find out where you're supplying that value, and don't make it too complex. You'll definitely be able to build and grow the company, but first get it out there and start interacting with your customers, because they're going to help define how it grows. And you're going to, you know, you might think, oh, everyone's going to use my product this way. But until you are doing user interviews and actually getting the product out there, potentially A/B testing, you're not going to be able to fully predict exactly how people are going to use it. And that's why we have companies develop like Amazon and Facebook as it continues to grow and actually be used by different people. So in terms of that, the cool part is when you're releasing your project on the Pi ecosystem, you're not starting from ground zero, right? Immediately, you're going to have a ton of users that are extremely interested to try your application. We've had very loyal pioneers who have been mining for 1, 2, 3, 4 years that want to find utility and are excited to try these different apps that are coming into our ecosystem. So you're going to have people right away that are going to come to your app. This is great, right? You're going to get immediate feedback, immediate users, but also thinking about, you know, which users you're trying to target. and making that onboarding very simple and understandable. And that ties back again to not making it too complex, right? Because you're going to have all of these users come in and try the application out. So you want it to be easily understood. So don't deter them by having to build knowledge to understand your application, right? Easy come in and you'll have repeat customers, and that will continue to grow as your project and application grows, right? And the other idea is, thinking about how to leverage the user base, right? You don't need to have all these partnerships or, connect to all these information database, because you have access to these users that want to engage, they want to, provide value to you as well, right? If it's knowledge on a specific topic, right? They can come in and provide knowledge. You're going to have access to all these different people, backgrounds, and users to help build up whatever you're building on the Pi ecosystem. And as you're going, definitely focusing on user feedback, right? It doesn't have to be fully developed to actually get feedback. You can do it just by talking with your friends, family, be like, hey, this is what I'm thinking. How would you use it? Or, if you came into the app and you saw this, what are your thoughts? It can be simple questions. Write down the reactions and questions that they have, because you could probably use that to build an FAQ document, right? But even then, if you want to test out the idea, you can do it verbally. If you want to test out the flow within the app that you're trying to build, you can do it based on Figma. You can do it on screenshots on a Google slide. Heck, you could do it on drawing on a napkin, be like, this is what I'm thinking, and see reactions, and get feedback and advice from people on what they would use. So definitely involve the user feedback, plan on using it from the community to help you build. And now during that flow, right, definitely focusing on simplicity, feedback, starting out, what's your problem, right, that we talked about, what's the value you're solving, start designing, get that feedback, and start prototyping the very simple. You'll see as you start building, if you're trying to include all these different functionalities, it's very difficult to actually get to a final state that you're happy with. So do something that is more simple very well to grow than do lots of things not as fully fleshed out, right? So, just focusing on finding that value and providing the value to the community as simply in, with all the information, so it's very coherent, easy to access, and you're going to see a lot of people enjoy and become frequent members of your application, right? And then beauty is, once you get that MVP out, you implement it, you review it, and then iterate. You can always continue to build, and it'll grow with the community and the Pi ecosystem itself. I think it's a really exciting time to be able to build here, as people will be really excited to try these apps, and will have patience and be willing and wanting to help. That's the exciting thing we see all the time. As we're looking at features, we're doing user studies and user interviews on applications that we're building. We're able to discuss with our pioneers, and you can just see the excitement for something that we're building. Like, oh, I can't wait to use that, or see what it looks like when it's deployed. And I think we'll see the same thing with everything built in the ecosystem, in engagement on all levels. So I think it's a really great opportunity, and just focusing on getting something achievable, and I think you'll see a lot of success. I look forward to seeing what everyone's building, and best of luck.